Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I call this one Capitalism's Collapse in 4 Acts. And here are the 4 acts. Cutting Medicaid, the medical insurance program for people who can't afford the most expensive medical care in the world, which is what we have here in the United States. That's Act 1. Act 2 is cutting back on food stamps, or the SNAP program, as it was renamed. Act 3 is deporting millions of working people who are immigrants. And Act 4 is cutting the taxes for rich people and corporations. These are 4 acts that have something in common. They're all part of the big, beautiful tax program proposed by President Trump, passed by the House of Representatives, and now sitting in the lap of the United States Senate. And they all have something in common. I'm going to try to show you that it's the collapse of our system that we are watching, but unfortunately also living through. Let's begin with Medicare, or rather Medicaid, the program to help cover the medical expenses of the poorest people amongst us. The documents of the Congress show that almost 2/3 of the people who get Medicaid have a full-time job. So the insults of these people that somehow they're moochers who don't work is exactly what I just said. It is an insult, it is inaccurate, and it is cruel. But we get a lot of that in a society that's falling apart, and that's why it's a part of the story of a society falling apart. Obviously, if 8+ million people are going to lose access to medical insurance and therefore have to skip visits to the doctor or the hospital or medications they can no longer afford, they will get sicker and they will end up in the emergency room where it is very expensive, but you have to take care of them. So even the monetary saving that's used to excuse all of this is a crock. It won't be achieved. Nor will I take seriously the notion that there are people cheating. There are people cheating in our tax system. We don't stop raising taxes. There are people cheating on all kinds of things in our society. I'm a professor. Do students cheat? You bet. Do we stop having school because there are people who cheat? No. That's stupid and cruel. You don't punish people who are getting an important service because there are a few cheaters among them. There are other ways that have been and could be and should be used to deal with that. No. This is a capitalism that has only one idea left. Save money. Screw the poor people. Let's turn next to cutting back on food stamps or the SNAP program. Well, that's the same story. Cutting back on money for poor people. Now the diets of Americans, already making us the most obese country in the world, will get even worse. And the sicknesses will get worse. And of course, since they won't have Medicaid, these folks will go to the emergency room. I won't repeat the whole story. This is a society that can't afford to help people buy enough food, can't afford to help people get medical care. Really? But let's go on. What's the third act? Deporting millions of people. Most of those people are working people. That's right. A majority of them work, just like a majority of those who get Medicaid. but they don't get paid enough because of our lousy, low-wage service sector where most of them work. They can't afford the most expensive medical care, one of the most expensive food costs in the world, and so on. These immigrants are being deported. That's an act of a collapsing system. Let me make it real clear. For most of the history of the United States, we as a nation absorbed immigrants. We brought them in. We welcomed them. Yeah, they began with not so good neighborhoods, not so good housing, not so good jobs. We have nothing to be proud of in how we treated them, but we made them a room, and they worked hard. That's why the overwhelming majority of those of you watching or listening to this video could trace your own history of your own family back to immigrants who fit the story I just told. And you know, the country became great because of them. They came, they worked, and their work helped build this economy. Immigrants were a source of American strength and growth. But now we can't absorb them. That's not an achievement. That's a failure. We can't bring them in, give them the housing and the schooling and all the rest of it so they become productive citizens the way we have always done it. We can't anymore. Or to be more accurate, our capitalist system isn't about to spend the money on the Medicaid or on the food stamps or to help immigrants become the productive citizens they've always been able to do before. And why is it that we don't have the money? Answer: because we save the money in a declining capitalism for those rich and powerful enough, the top 10% of our income receivers, the executives who run our corporations. They're the ones who sit at the top of society, and they make sure that as our capitalism declines, they keep theirs. We're the ones who have to give up, starting with the poorest among us. You won't get the Medicaid you once got. You won't get the food stamps you once got. You will be sent to the poor country from which you ran with your family to have a better life. We're going to screw all of you so that in the same bill that does that, we give tax cuts to corporations and the rich. Two kinds. We keep going the tax cuts Mr. Trump gave them during his first presidency in 2017. We keep them going, and we add a bunch of new ones. We take money from the mass of the poorest and give it to the rich. This is not only capitalism's collapse, because it's Robin Hood in reverse. And that never works very long. You know why? Because people who don't have medical care get sick. And the sickness spreads everywhere where the germs jump, where the lack of medical care spreads. And hungry people are sick people. And hungry people are angry people. Really, you want to do this? You want to send all those immigrants back to where they came from, where there are no jobs, where they ran for good reason? Will we soon be hearing about the exploding societies in Mexico and Central America? We are living through a desperate capitalism run by a desperate set of politicians who are holding on for the rich and the powerful as the ship goes down. We don't have to. That's not the only way to live. We could have an empire that declines, but does so in a genteel, fair, and equal way, where everybody contributes to managing a decline, rather than having the few load the masses with the maximum of suffering to save them themselves. But this will continue, this collapse in 4 or more acts, so long as you and I and all the people like us, the vast majority, permit it to go on. If interventions like this strike you as interesting and worthwhile, please share this video with others that you know who might be interested. Friends, families, co-workers, fellow students, whoever. That's why we make them. And of course, if you can contribute a little bit to help pay for all of this, that will be enormously appreciated. Just go to our website, democracyatwork.info, and it'll be made as easy as pie for you to do that. Thank you.